All right, thank you, Michelle. My name is Scott Marley, and this is Laura. I'm from ASU. I'm at Mary Lou Fulton Teachers College, and Laura Berger's at with Child's Play. And we're reporting or describing one of our projects that we've shared with each other over the past couple of years. Or actually, it's almost been a 8-9 year collaboration. So with that, I'll get going, and hopefully it all makes sense as we go. Our project partners currently are the staff at Child's Play, which consists of Corby Adams, Laura Berger, and Jenny Millinger, and Arizona State University faculty with Katie Bernstein, Michael Kelly, myself, and we're from Mary Lou Fulton Teachers College, and Laeta Restrepo from what is this? The community health. It's the public health college, or the college that has health solutions, College of Health Solutions. And then we have currently 3 participating school districts that are in on this project. And then next year we have Washington Unified School District, and Mesa Unified School District will be joining us the following year. Prior to our current project, this was funded by Helios with a project that was initially begun between Child's Play and Michael Kelly, who is faculty in Mary Lou Fulton Teachers College. And then I came on about 3-4 years ago during that grant, and subsequently we were able to secure a grant from the Department of Education. Here's a not so brief history of the history of Child's Play. In 2011, the Helios Education Foundation funded an 18-month pilot program, and people can read that for more details. In 2012, Helios provided more funding that was used to fund an implementation program in 32 preschool classrooms throughout Metro Phoenix. And around that point in time, ASU started gathering various faculty members to expand the capacity of the partnership. In 2015, Child's Play, ASU, and the Creighton and Osborne school districts received a 4-year grant from Helios to create a dual language version of, and Child's Play is the organization, and EYEPlay is the program that we're going to describe. And they received a 4-year grant to examine EYEPlay with dual language learners. Prior to that, the work was done with primarily English speakers. In 2016, the dual language program began in 13 classrooms, and there was 2 publications that emerged from the EYEPlay project. And in 2017, the partnership expanded into Florida. And then 2019, we received the larger grant from the U.S. Department of Education that we're testing 3 cohorts of 30 classrooms with 1 cohort per year, and each cohort broken into experimental conditions and control conditions. So what we're trying to do is eventually arrive at stronger evidence to support the efficacy of the intervention, or what's a professional development program that at this point Laura will describe for us.
Yeah, so we are, as Scott said, I represent Child's Play, and we are a professional theater of adult actors performing for young audiences and families. We have been in Phoenix for 3 years. So we come to the table with ASU as already being really deeply rooted in our community and in the schools in our community. The EYEPlay program is specifically a professional development program for preschool educators. The acronym EYEPlay stands for Early Years Educators at Play. And as the slide indicates, our program has demonstrated significant changes in teacher facilitation and student achievement. So I'm going to talk you through sort of what our program looks like. We are a year-long job-embedded professional development program We pair a professional teaching artist with a classroom teacher on a one-to-one pairing, and they work together in a peer mentoring model. The teaching artist, well, rather the classroom teacher, comes to this program with knowledge about facilitation and best practices in teaching, as well as expertise in their own classrooms and in their own curriculum. And the teaching artist comes with expertise in how to apply drama to curriculum. So every classroom teacher that participates in the program gets 50 hours of professional development over the course of the school year. All of the work that we do is based in story time. So we're based in literature. We create lessons around high quality picture books. And we bring the text to life, essentially, in the classroom using kinesthetic movement. We have particular emphasis on dynamic reading and vocabulary development with the young people in the classrooms. Our model is an I do, we do, you do model. So over the course of a month, the teaching artist models a lesson in the classroom. The teaching artist and classroom team co-teach a lesson together, and then the classroom teacher teaches a lesson on his or her own with the teaching artist they're supporting. And then there's also time dedicated in the model for one-on-one planning and reflection time. So, you know, really our entire program is based around what we are to be true, that drama builds literacy and life skills. When a young person is doing drama in a classroom, what they're doing is embodied cognition and kinesthetic learning. And then through that, they are learning emotional self-regulation. And that is the key life skill that they're focused on, especially in preschool. That is what they work on every day, is emotions and relating to one another and self-regulation. So there are some key elements of a lesson when we are doing creative drama and story time, as they're outlined here. The first one is our anticipatory set. This is where we introduce the concepts and the vocabulary words that we're going to focus on during the lesson. We use multi-sensory elements to do this. We bring in pictures, we bring in smells, we bring in objects that can be touched and manipulated and experienced by the young people. And really the key to the anticipatory set is that we set the students up as experts. And this really allows them to relate these new ideas to their existing body of knowledge and integrate them into their own cultural and familiar contexts as well. The next element is our story sharing. That's the book reading. We use text using dynamic and dialogic reading methods to deliver the story. We use points of participation, which is essentially verbal and kinesthetic prompts that we use to really intentionally engage and activate the participants in the room. Then after we've read the story, we get up and we do the drama. We get up on our feet, we jump into the world of the story, we use our bodies to explore the concepts and the actions that have happened in the story. And then we always build in time reflection as well. This is where we revisit the concepts and the vocabulary using different types of inquiry. And it really helps to apply those concepts and words to the lives of the young people in the classroom. So while a lot of the work that we're doing in this program happens with young people in the classroom during the school day, we really still consider our primary learners of this program to be the classroom teachers. And again, everything that we do is based on something else that we know to be true, that drama really builds instructional skills for teachers. It really equips them with creative questioning strategies, with ways to facilitate concept development. It also really gives them new tools for mapping action with language, which is and ways that they can really easily translate that to other parts of their day in the school day. So I want to zoom out a little bit and take a look at what this model looks like on its feet in a classroom. All of our content is delivered through a month-long unit that follows this pattern that you see on the screen. Every unit starts with a model lesson, which is there at the very top. The teaching artist facilitates a lesson in the classroom for the young people, and the classroom team is there to follow along and observe what's happening. So then next, we all get together after that model lesson into in-service groups. So these are groups of adult learners, and this is where we really lay the foundation of knowledge for each unit. The teachers, they learn and practice the specific techniques of that unit, and then they also get to preview and practice the team lesson, which is the next step in the unit. The team lesson is co-facilitated in the classroom once again with the teaching artist and the classroom team. Then after that team lesson, they get together once again one-on-one with the teaching artist and the classroom team for their planning session. This is a chance for the teams to reflect on the things that they've experienced so far, to have a little bit of coaching with their teaching artist. And then at that time, they also collaboratively plan the lesson that will become the solo lesson for the classroom team. So that is the next step. The solo lesson is facilitated in the classroom by the classroom team primarily. The teaching artist is there participating along and supporting as well. And then finally, the team comes together one-on-one once again to reflect upon the whole unit. This is often where the teachers will talk about what they really enjoyed, what they really want to try to continue using, what they would like to continue working on. They make some strategies how to utilize these techniques in their classroom in other parts of the day. And then they also make some plans for how they're going to move forward with these techniques that they've learned in this unit. And then this is also the time that our teaching artists complete assessments for each of the classroom teams in the program. So that is what happens over the course of about a month in our program. So if we zoom out a little bit further, we can look at our overall program structure. So essentially, we repeat that same 1 month unit 6 times throughout the school year, the first 3 in the fall and the second 3 in the spring. Each unit focuses on a pairing of a classroom learning objective and the drama technique that is really best suited to deliver that objective. So the learning is really scaffolded for the teachers in the way that it's scaffolded for the young people in the classroom. So if we start out with that first blue dot on the top left-hand side, we start out with pantomime. It is paired with receptive language. And then we move in character development, which is paired with expressive language. And then the final unit in the fall is group story building, which we pair with problem solving. So once we finish out that fall unit of the 1.0 content, we come back in the spring and we revisit all 3 of these units again at a 2.0 level. So we're really digging a lot deeper into the techniques and strategies that we learned together in the fall. Also, we sort of bookend the whole year with some community time with our teachers. And we start out the year with a kickoff where we bring everybody together in a room. We do some foundation of knowledge, learning together, creating some shared language with each other about what we'll be doing for the whole school year. And then at the end of the year, we all celebrate together just all of the accomplishments and the hard work that everybody has done over the year. So that is what the EYEPlay program looks like in a nutshell, or in a PowerPoint slide. On the next slide, as Scott mentioned, we've been so fortunate to have been in classrooms now for about 9 years with this program. We've received just tremendous amounts of feedback from the teachers we've worked with. One of the real tenets of our program is the belief that all children are language learners. But really overwhelmingly over the years, we have found that our teachers have resonated with how much this program is effective with their English language learners specifically. These are some quotes that we've received from teachers. You notice that these 3 have a lot to do with really the comprehension, the increase in comprehension, increase in using the vocabulary words. that first teacher commented that really the kinesthetic learning she thinks is the key, that they really understand the concepts by being able to physicalize them while they're learning about them. Also, the second teacher comments that her students were trying to use the big words and asking for other words that mean the same thing. So they're already conceptualizing synonyms through this work. Using the vocabulary, reenacting the story, really that's the thing that we hear the most often, is that teachers are finding this work really sparks imagination and curiosity in their students, and they are taking what they learned during drama time and using it throughout the rest of the school day and even beyond. So that is a very fast overview of EYEPlay and what the program is. So I'm going to hand it back over to Scott, who's going to talk about where we're at in our program right now.
So currently what we're trying to do is ascertain whether the program is effective as we think it is, that we have an abundance of anecdotal evidence that suggests that it's very effective in the classroom. We have a couple studies that were done that don't have strong controls that indicate that the intervention is effective in terms of reading growth with older children. And so what we're trying to do is generalize what we found with other groups to younger children in the preschool context, and also, and in addition, be able to develop evidence that allows us to make stronger conclusions about the EYEPlay program and drama-based learning and teaching artists in particular, as far as does implementation of drama in the classroom result in greater levels of language development and comprehension and achievement. So it's a 4-year study that we're currently involved in. The first year we received our funding, and we took a lot of the EYEPlay materials and refined them for the population that we're working with, the preschool children. And simultaneously, we were developing our evaluation framework. We have about 10 undergraduate students working for us on this project. We have 3 or 4, maybe, I think we've had 4 or 5 actually, graduate students in and out of the project. And then we have a postdoc working on the project as well. So there's numerous moving parts in terms of people and aspects of this. And over the year 1, we piloted our measures with other schools. We tested, trained our testers and those kinds of things. So this year we're in year 2, and we're implementing. Initially, we were going to implement with 30 classrooms, and we have around 25 classrooms due to some attrition. And 15 of the classes were going to be experimental. The other 15 are control. It's kind of in that area. And then in each classroom, we're testing up to 8 children. And we're testing them on language development. We're testing them on their socio-emotional skills. We're using data collected by the teachers to determine how they're developing in other arenas. And so that's where we're currently at. And then year 3 would be the extension to Washington, and year 4 will be the extension to Mesa Public Schools. So this is the kind of a broad overview of what we've been doing. We have the first year's training schedule, instrumentation, scheduled measurement occasions. And you can see over to the far left, May, June was our student training. We trained them in using a standardized measure called the BESA, which is a basic English Spanish assessment. And that's a standardized measure of children's language proficiency that we're hoping to show growth over time. And then we have what's called a natural language measure, which is basically how well student or the children recall various aspects of stories, where the tester tells the child a story, and then the child is asked to retell it. And then we have SRM, which is a comparable language measure, but we're scoring it for other dimensions, such as how often children do hand motions or reenact aspects of the story and those kinds of things. So in May, June, we develop these things, and then we train our RAs or our assessors in July on how to use these things. And we also have an emotional knowledge, which is the measure basically shows pictures of children displaying various emotions. And we ask the children which ones would be a child who's sad or which child is sad, and those kinds of things to see if they can recognize those things. So in August, this is basically our baseline period. We had the teachers record their story time. We gave the teachers an online survey to ascertain their demographic characteristics and their current teaching practices within a storybook reading context, and some of their beliefs about the appropriateness of using drama in the classroom. That in some instances, teachers have indicated that this is a sophisticated thing for preschool age children to do. And meanwhile, EYEPlay has shown that very young children can engage in drama. So some of it is can we shift their attitudes across time to begin to believe that drama is developmentally appropriate for children in preschool classrooms. The parents, we sent them a survey as well to ask them things regarding their shared book reading in classroom, or not classroom, in their home, and kind of the literacy environment. How many books do they have? How often do they do bedtime stories, or do they read to their children in general in classroom, and their practices as they read to their children? And then for the students, we have the previously described measures, the BASA, the NLM, and the emotional knowledge. And then in November, we measure them on the NLM. In December, we had developed the SRM for subsequent use in January. And in January, we recorded the teacher story time, which we're going to code systematically to determine if the teaching practices differ in the control versus the experimental classrooms, in terms of how the teachers read stories. And then you can see that January, February, March, these smaller outcomes or easier to administer outcomes are administered to the students. And then at the end of April, we were again going to have the teachers, and this is we were again going to have because of the current circumstances that we've had to halt our data collection a couple weeks ago. So at the end of the project, our goal was to record the story time, once again provide the teachers a survey, once again provide the parents a survey, and then measure the students on the learning and achievement outcomes to determine whether there was change over time in terms of those. So that kind of hopefully provides a broad overview of our evaluation framework. Our anticipated outcomes, you have to think about in terms of teacher level and student level. The idea is that if teachers change their practices, that'll trickle down into the student level. So if teachers engage in more engaging instruction during story time, that the benefits will be experienced at the student level. So we're interested in two levels of change. We're interested in whether the teachers change, and we're interested in whether the students change. And it's possible that neither level changes. It's possible the teacher level changes and the student level doesn't change. And it's possible that the teacher level changes and the student level changes as well. So at the teacher level, we anticipate increased knowledge of arts content and drama-based instructional strategies. Further, teachers will experience higher levels of confidence and success in applying drama-infused instruction. As a result of these teacher level changes, we anticipate that the preschoolers will demonstrate greater performance on measures of language development, drama skills, socio-emotional awareness, relative to a business as usual control group. So the business as usual control group they're doing what they've always done. They're reading the stories the way the teachers typically read stories, based on their prior training or based on how they've developed as teachers through other programs or whatever exists out there without our intervention. So that's kind of a broad outline of the project. Hopefully it has some appearance of social embeddedness because we're interacting with a lot of teachers, we're interacting with ChildsPlay. Child's Play is interacting with us. We're interacting with administrators. We've gone to school boards. The school boards have had to, we've had to work with them. And across the board, this project, I think, has been very well received. The school districts that we've approached have consistently been excited about having us work with them. And in a couple of years, maybe I'll come back and we'll let you know what happened. And any questions? That's kind of the elevator speech.
Thank you, Scott and Laura. If anyone has any questions, they can post it to the chat box. But I have a couple questions that I wrote down, so maybe I'll selfishly take the floor first, if that's okay. So I am running a partnership that similarly is at the same time, like simultaneously applying an experimental or kind of like testing out a new pedagogy or program, and researching the influences on the students and the teachers engaged with that. So I was just curious, how are you selecting the participating schools and teachers? And then part two, how did you match with a selected control groups? What was that process like?
Well, as with a lot of these types of studies, is that we all take in our methodology courses, that would be ideal if we randomly sampled this number of classrooms and then randomly sampled within classrooms, and those kinds of things don't necessarily happen. Typically is, these are partnerships that Child's Play has developed over the years with these school districts. So some of these school districts have had prior instantiations of Child's Play at older levels, and they were approached to see if this was a project that they would like to be involved in. In terms of how was the intervention assigned, basically we matched. Wait a minute, I just lost my train of thought. Basically, what we did was the ideal circumstance would be that like you have 20, 30 schools and you randomly assign each school, but that has logistical problems, because when you go to a school, most schools say, we don't really want to be the control, we want to be the experimental. And so that took some kind of nuanced negotiation to say, well, not all the teachers are going to be experimental. What we'll do is we'll randomly assign at the teacher level, and we'll provide teachers who are assigned to the control condition. We'll provide them some professional development upon completion of the project. So we were able to gather up, I believe this first cohort, we started out with like 28 classrooms, and we randomly assigned them to either Child's Play or not Child's Play, EYEPlay, or business as usual. And some of the incentive that we used in the business as usual classroom is we provide them props, we provide them the materials that are used alongside with the stories. We're just not providing them the professional development. So that's basically how, the assignment was left up to a random process. And then within classrooms, we're randomly selecting children, but that has some complications with it as well, because what ends up happening is we can only study children who we have parental consent to work with. So at the beginning of the year, we sent out parental consent forms to every child in every classroom. And in general, we did very well at receiving the consent forms, and then we eventually randomly sampled to get the children that we were going to study for the project. Michelle, does that answer your question?
Yeah, thank you, Scott.
Okay. What project are you on?
Well, I am actually just transitioned off of it, but I was part of launching a new partnership with Girl Scouts USA. And we were looking to study the influences of some of their badging programs, and the volunteer troop leaders who implement those badge programs on how girls might perform in college credit courses.
Oh, interesting. Yeah. Okay.
We have a question from Caitlin Baker. She says, could you provide some example success stories from the classroom? So Laura, I think that might be geared toward you.
Yeah. You know, we have had so very many. You know, I would say we truly have had so many success stories. Just specifically this year, you know, even though our time in our classrooms was cut short, we have specifically worked in the Phoenix Elementary School District, which has all they have integrated special needs students into their classrooms, and we most often hear how effective this program is with children who have language delays. One of our favorite stories of all time to tell about EYEPlay was we were working in a classroom, and there was a young person in the classroom who had been predominantly nonverbal for the school year, and one of our lessons one day involved on sympathy around a turtle who was not eating what he was supposed to be eating. And the classroom teacher went in role as the turtle. And sure enough, the first words that the student spoke the entire school year, the child walking up to the teacher and saying, "Feed turtle, feed turtle." So he was not only engaging and really absorbing what was happening all along in the classroom, but he really had the agency at that moment to produce some language in context of the drama that they were in. And that was a really exciting moment for everybody that was involved in that.
What I think related to that as well is that a lot of times in classrooms that are solely verbal, children that are nonverbal are really disadvantaged because they don't have a way to indicate comprehension or participate in a particular lesson. And so in a story time reading that encourages physical activity, acting things out, that it doesn't necessarily completely advantage children who are high verbal. So one of the things that I skimmed over with the SRM is the SRM is targeted at are there improvement in our classroom observations as well as do children who are language delayed or experiencing language challenges, do they have greater engagement in the classroom? Do they participate more so than children who in the control classrooms? So if you think about like a standardized test, like the outcomes we have, the BASA and so forth, does those really privilege verbal comprehension? Because they ask you questions and you answer the question. It doesn't really focus on, well, did they move their hands the right way, or did they engage in some physical activity that was appropriate for the context? And so we've heard enough reports of that over the past 9 years that some of what we're trying to do is catch that aspect as well.
Great. Let's see. Chad doesn't have a question, but he says this is great. Thank you. And then Alyssa wonders, how do educators respond to the program?
Well, I think it's a twofold question though. There's the program and the evaluation.
Right.
so they seem to respond to the program fantastically, and the evaluation framework seems tolerable, or you know, that we've done a lot to make sure that our evaluation framework fits into the classroom context in a way to minimize disruption. Laura can comment more on how they respond to the intervention itself.
Yeah, I think, you know, we have, of course, experienced a range of emotions about feelings toward EYEPlay. You know, I think a lot of teachers, preschool teachers specifically, are very hungry for professional development. There's just not a lot out there for preschool teachers. So we have overwhelmingly had positive experiences with all of the teachers that we have worked with. We are definitely, I think we're fortunate to be in a position of really understanding that the districts that we work with, we want to make sure that we're working with teachers who want to be a part of the program. And I think Scott may have to add to this, but you know, we do give all teachers an opportunity to opt out of the program, because we recognize that it might not be for everyone. You know, teachers get overcommitted just like the rest of us. You know, they're very busy, but overwhelmingly the gotten from teachers is that they love EYEPlay, they learn so much, and they continue to use it. They fully and you know, they really bring it into their own pedagogy as teachers and continue those techniques.
Yeah, one of the things that ChildsPlay is currently working on is developing videos to demonstrate how these classroom lessons look, and hopefully eventually we'll have them online, or ChildsPlay will have them online. But they're very dynamic lessons, and I think once people see examples of the lessons, they hopefully would say, I want some of that, because I used to be a 4th grade teacher, and after watching a couple of lessons, I was like, oh, this is good stuff. This is just good pedagogy, this is good storybook reading, and ChildsPlay is teaching teachers how to do it systematically. For better or worse, we do ask people if they want to participate prior to random assignment, because in certain contexts, there's very persuasive administrators who they don't necessarily give their teachers the option of participating. They have the potential to, you know, I think in the military, they call this being voluntold. So that we don't do that. That's not our interest. And the administrators that we're currently working with are very open to the idea if somebody wants to opt out, they can opt out. And that creates challenges in the future in terms of who we can extrapolate our results to, because we have results that are generalizable to teachers who are interested in doing this. But maybe that's just the way it is anyways. You know, teachers that want to use effective instruction, they probably differ from you know, the teachers who are just kind of doing what they've always done.
Mm-hmm. Okay. It looks like Christina had a follow-up question to that, just wondering, like, does it differ for teachers that maybe had a drama background versus didn't?
You know, in our teacher survey, we have asked them about their arts background. So there's a slew of teacher variables that could possibly change the effectiveness of the program. So one of the variables are, you know, is not necessarily one, but we've asked people, you know, is your primary training in the arts? Have you had experience with the arts, and those kinds of things? And we don't really know at the moment. My understanding is EYEPlay basically says, you know, you can come to us basically with any level of skill or ability as a teacher, and having an arts background is not a requirement. And I don't believe we have any evidence suggesting that it depends upon arts background for maximum effectiveness. Laura would probably comment more on that.
No, I completely agree with everything you just said. We, you know, we're not teaching teachers how to be actors in any way. You know, we're teaching kinesthetic learning and embodied cognition, just a different way to approach those two principles of pedagogy.